Today, I'm going to give you the ultimate squat cheat code to instantly add weight to your lift. So let's do it.
Get up and get down, get up and get.
Dr. Stuart McGill, the world's foremost authority on back mechanics, once said, "Proximal stability and stiffness unleashes distal athleticism and power." And what that means simply in pertaining to the squat is that if we can focus on creating core stiffness with our breath and brace, we can unleash optimal strength and force into our lower body and squat more weight. And when that comes down to lifting, the most important thing that most people are doing wrong, the cheat code for today, is learning how to breathe and brace. And most people think because I'm alive and I'm able to breathe, I'm doing it well. And that's often not the case. We can often do this even better, and again, squat more weight because of it. Here's what most people do incorrectly. They're gonna get the bar on their back, and when they walk it out and get ready to squat, it usually looks something like this. Watch how the bar rises off my back. Almost like Kirby taking that big breath of air in. We get a lot of rise and fall out of our body. Now, why is that not optimal? When you see movement out of your body like this, your trunk, we're actually lengthening and then shortening these muscles. And we're decreasing their ability to then contract and create optimal intra-abdominal cavity pressure, IAP. And the greater intra-abdominal cavity pressure we're able to derive, the more stiffness and stability we can have within the core. And then, like we talked about at the beginning of this video, create more distal athleticism and power in our legs. So the first and most important part of today is learning how to breathe not in our chest with rising and fall up here, but expand laterally without any movement here. Now, a simple drill that you can do, one that I've collaborated with Brandon Morgan of Kabuki Strength to share with you guys before, is the sandwich drill. Take your hands, clasp them around your side like this. I want you to take a breath and expand laterally. Notice that I'm not having my chest rise and fall. So the idea is that when we take a breath, we want to expand here, which is called a diaphragmatic breath. Not this, but this. Now, when that comes down to the squat, you're then going to stiffen your core as if someone's about to punch you, and then perform the rest of the squat. So you would brace and breathe, tight, and then perform the rest of your squat. Now, two things that we need to understand with that. First is we need to organize ourselves in a stacked position of pelvis and trunk on top of each other. If we are overextended at the start, it limits our ability to breathe and brace properly. Just try this at home. Overextend, have that big arch, and then try that diaphragmatic breath with the sandwich cue. It doesn't happen as well. So that's probably one of the most common faults that you see with the squat is people that'll get out here and they'll have that big overarched chest. We want to make sure that we are stacked appropriately. That's called the open scissor fault if we are overextended. So we want to make sure that we're closed off and just like a solid cylinder, straight up and down on both sides. That allows us the greatest expansion with that diaphragmatic breath for optimal intra-abdominal cavity pressure. So that is the sandwich cue. Now, if you are at home and you want to make an investment, the breath belt is an excellent tool that you can then use to enhance that cue while you have your hands on the bar. It is not your typical leather belt that you would use for performance training, but it is there to create a sensory-rich environment, okay? So it is a light belt. There are spots for 2 small balls that you can place on the inside of it. And what you would do is just place that around your waist. You would then strap over the top. Now there are 2 straps, but I'm gonna do this just without at first so you can see what happens. Is again, in this posture, I'm going to be aligned properly, not having that open scissor fault. And then from here, you can see if I take my breath, you can see that the belt pushes away. So the idea is that when the belt is on tightly, especially with the balls on the inside, it allows you to have that same feeling as your fingers clasp around your side with the sandwich drill. So it allows you to create that same sensory rich environment while you're squatting. So there are 2 levels that can go over the top, and then with that bar over your back, you can then perform that exact same movement. So that is the breath belt. So again, when you get under the bar, it all comes down to the proper breath and brace. So what I'm gonna do is walk through that same sequence as before and show you guys what that looks like. And this, again, is the cheat code that if you master the breath and brace will instantly add weight to your lifts, because the more stable you are here, the more force and power you can drive into the rest of your lift. So I'm going to get set. I'm going to do this first as I get under the bar, set my legs, open up, torso aligned. Again. And the idea is that while I'm doing that, I'm able to sustain the most amount of stability possible in my core. Now, the last aspect of the cheat code for squatting that we have to talk about that a lot of people have questions on is, when do I exhale? We know that proper breathing and bracing is the cheat code. When do you let the breath out? This is something a lot of people want to know. The most important thing to understand is that if you let your breath out too soon, you lose that vital breath that is the intra-abdominal cavity pressure. So you lose your vital stability. You do not want to let your breath out until you pass the sticking point of the ascent, which for most people is about halfway up. A really good analogy that I saw from Whiteboard Daily was that if you are standing in about chest-high water, you're gonna take your breath up top and you're not gonna let it out until you get back above water. So do not let your air out at the bottom position. Now, you will sometimes hear an athlete have the Valsalva maneuver, the grunt and those small tss of air as they start their ascent. They are still keeping their pressure very high. Now, obviously with extremely light weight, this is not as important, but the more and more load that you have, the more vital it is for that stability to remain high. So you are not going to let your air out until about, again, halfway up. You may have that small Valsalva maneuver, but the overall stability and breath volume has to stay very high. One more time for the example. Let's watch that starting from the beginning, and you can see all the way through. Notice when my air starts to be let out. So I'm gonna get under the bar. Slow, controlled steps back, assume my position. Now from here, that's how you properly breathe and brace for a good looking squat. There you guys go. That is the cheat code. Work on it, master it, and instantly you will see more weights fly up off the bar. Hope you guys liked today's video on breathing, bracing, and squatting. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments section. If you have any videos that you'd like to see me produce in the future, let me know as well. I'm a little out of breath, but it's all right. Until next time, guys, happy squatting.
They say that energy flows where attention goes, so I pay no mind. Why waste my time with all these negative cats scratching? So caught up in their egos, these people have lost.